Hello and welcome. We are back in studio. It's been a very long time since we've been here. The studio is still here, looking exactly the same. We might have aged a wee bit as well. But we're delighted to be joined today by a very special guest and a special object. So today we're delighted to welcome Jamie McGowan to the Church Chat studio and the relic of the Brecbannoch. So how are you doing, Jamie?
Very well, thank you, John.
So tell us more about this beautiful reliquary. What's it all about?
So this is called the Brecbannoch, or the Brecbannoch, which is a replica of the original reliquary in which the relics of St Columba were held. We don't really know when the reliquary was made, but we know it was potentially carried into the Battle of Bannockburn. It was featured in many different parts of Scottish history because Columba, prior to St Andrew, was the patron saint of Scotland. And essentially we discovered a few years ago that we had the relics of St Columba in Carfin, and we thought, well, why don't we have a pilgrimage to try and take the relics back home to their resting place, their original resting place, before they became such a big part of Scottish history. And so that's why we have this replica reliquary here today.
And of course, there's not just St Columba in there as well. We've got the relics of St Margaret and St Andrew, the patron saints of Scotland. So it's very special. And what's the plan with it? What's the use of this reliquary? What are you going to do with it?
So last year we put together this this reliquary and its sort of outside furnishings for the Brecbannoch pilgrimage, where we would take the reliquary back to Iona, to Columba's Isle. It's a 3-day pilgrimage. It was last year, very successful. We walked from Oban Cathedral at 5:30 in the morning, bright and early, across the Isle of Mull in all its glorious scenery to the Isle of Iona at last, where we had Mass in the nunnery and processed at last with the reliquary to the Abbey, where we had benediction of the relic and some time for private prayer. And we hope to do that again this year and every year henceforth, to try and pray for the Church in Scotland and for the evangelisation of the nation.
So how many people did it attract, the last pilgrimage?
Last year we had 67 pilgrims, which was quite a number for a first time, and then quite a lot of volunteers on top of that too. It was excellent. You know, all 60 of us kind of traversing along single track roads and through some maybe rougher patches as well, a bit of bracken and so forth. It's not always the plainest route, but it is the route, and that is the kind of terrain that St Columba himself would have had to have traversed. So that was quite wonderful. All of us singing, the chance for people to receive the sacraments, the sacrament of confession as we're walking, and also the chance to receive the Holy Eucharist in some wonderful historic places of Catholic worship, such as Iona Abbey itself and the nunnery, and the chapel of Kilvickeon, which was the pre-Reformation shrine to St Ernan. So yeah, it was a really wonderful faith-filled time, which involved both the rediscovery of our Catholic heritage in this country, especially in the Isles and in the Highlands, but also for the modern age. You know, we have to look back to the saints that enriched this country before, if we want to revivify the Church of today.
What do you think the reaction was? I mean, being there and seeing pilgrims and tourists blending, and this is quite an outstanding piece, and seeing that contrast in the countryside of Mull and Iona, how do you think the tourists reacted to that?
Entirely positively. Perhaps some motorhomes being held up were not too, or there was nobody. I didn't get anyone tooting any horns or anything like that, but there definitely was probably the odd intrigued person who didn't quite have an understanding of what was going on. But in any case, the people who were intrigued stopped and asked, and we explained to them. And generally speaking, those people were coming back from Iona having just learned a little bit about St Columba, and now encountering St Columba, and of course St Margaret and St Andrew as well, who are a bit more well known to the rest of the world. So generally speaking, very positive. On one occasion there was a lady who stopped her car and opened her door and practically fell on the floor coming out of the car, because she seemed to just know what it was. It was kind of I think she stopped and talked to some pilgrims and then realised, but the whole procession had to stop for her, and the whole procession was quite happy to stop for her to have that moment. Yeah, there was definitely some amazement, some bewilderment, and even some of the people on Mull as well, especially down at the Ross of Mull, where when they found out that that's what we were doing, we were very touched. We're very touched that we were essentially bringing St Columba home for a short period, but yes.
And of course, the abbey itself at Iona was formerly Catholic. It doesn't have the tabernacle, it doesn't have the trappings of Catholicism, so it was almost like, in a sense, it was refilling. Yeah. Like, it was almost like recolouring a black and white area as such into the full colour of Catholicism. That's the way I felt about it. But this year is a different element to your pilgrimage.
Yes, so this year the pilgrimage last year it took place just after the Feast of St Columba, within the sort of octave of St Columba, and we had a votive mass of St Columba on the last day to sort of celebrate him and the devotion to him. But this year the pilgrimage will begin on the 9th of June on the Solemnity of St Columba, again at 5:30 in the morning, and that mass will be celebrated by Bishop Brian McGee, who's the Bishop of Argyll and Ailes, and in some way the successor of St Columba. Which I'm sure will be actually quite special. But the following day, the Saturday, and the day after the Sunday is actually the feast of the solemnity of the body and blood of Christ, Corpus Christi, otherwise known as, and therefore we will be celebrating that in the full with the full rites of the church. So that will involve a procession from not only are we bringing the relics in procession, but once we get to the nunnery, we will be processing to the abbey with the Holy Eucharist, with the Blessed Sacrament procession, and bringing the Blessed Sacrament back to the abbey. In that way, certainly there's been masses in the abbey over the years, but I'm not sure quite when the last time there would have been solemn benediction of the Blessed Sacrament in the abbey. So that will be very special, and a very wonderful way to bring the faith out to the streets, and bring the Lord out to the streets, literally in the flesh.
It's a very historic occasion, but how do you actually get involved with this pilgrimage?
So the best way to get involved is to sign up on the website. It's brecbannoch.org/book. You sign up on the website and pay for your ticket there. Included in your ticket is your ferry from Oban to Mull, and any campsite fees that are involved on Mull and Iona. And also just things like organisation of luggage being transported between different campsites, organisation of things like portaloos, all the things you maybe wouldn't think of at first, just to make sure that the pilgrimage goes smoothly, and of course catering too. It's all included in the website. You can get a full detailed breakdown of what's involved. And the pilgrimage takes over from a Friday to a Monday, which is ideal for people maybe getting off work and so forth. With the pilgrimage starting at 5:30 a.m. on the Friday morning through to the Sunday, when we'll start travelling back to the mainland.
One of the things last year was that the evidence of the mixed age groups we had there, and one of the factors that need to be considered, because you are walking quite a long distance and camping rurally. So what I would say is that, do you have any advice for those groups, or maybe older or younger?
Certainly. So I think when we piloted the idea of the pilgrimage at first, people thought it would have to be a youth pilgrimage, and my immediate response was, well, no, the church is a church of all ages, and we want this to be an event in which the church can be united in prayer and penance for the church, for her clergy, for our bishops, to reinvigorate the mission of the church in society, and that involves an effort from essentially everyone who can. En masse come with us to Iona. So all ages did join us. There were some people in their 70s that joined us. Now, I understand that camping in your 70s sometimes might not be the easiest thing to do, but a lot of people did it, and it's a question of ability. If you're able and you're willing, you're welcome. And if there's any issues, there will be an emergency pickup van on hand to make sure that everyone's safe and that nobody's in trouble. But I think it's very important that we have vast kind of diversity in that sense, to show the diversity of the church, and particularly we wanted as well to push for families as well, to try and bring their children, fathers to bring their sons, and so forth, to try and bring out a sort of an emphasis on the family as well, and its future in evangelisation.
So of course you're bringing one of the youngest pilgrims this year, of course. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, a wee boy Seamus will be coming with myself and Emma, my wife. He will be walking from time to time. He will not be walking the entire way according to, well, he dictates everything in our life, so that's up to him. But yeah, he will probably be the younger pilgrim, but there's still time left. The deadline's the 31st of May. If people want to sign up, a baby that's 4 or 5 months old, he might be younger than Seamus.
Challenge accepted. But for those who won't walk and won't camp and are maybe on holiday in Mull or Iona, can they join in with liturgies and experience it?
Absolutely welcome to, yes. Understood sometimes that it might not be possible for people to camp and they might not want to walk. There were people last year who holidayed and joined the pilgrimage. There were people last year who just came for the liturgies, and some people came and walked. There's some people that came and brought their dog for a bit of a walk along the way, so you're welcome to do as you will. Obviously things like food and catering and stuff would more be restricted to those who are paid pilgrims with tickets and so forth. But you know, if you want to get in touch to arrange some sort of hybrid arrangement with us or understand the schedule, it will be out there on social media anyway, but if you're unsure, give us an email through the website.
Excellent. So what dates is it again and what's the website?
So it's the 9th of June until the 12th of June, and the website is brecbannoch.org.
Perfect. So thank you, Jamie, for coming into the studio today to chat to us about the Brecbannoch pilgrimage, where we'll be carrying the relics of St Columba, St Andrew and St Margaret across Mull back to Iona. We hope to see you there, and God bless you all from the Sancta Studio.